My phone screamed with a special alert, a sound that made everyone in the meeting stop and look at me. One look at the security camera feed and my whole world shifted. My sister Clara was in the middle of my apartment, sunlight reflecting off the folders she had taken from my safe. She didn't look scared. She was grinning, holding them up like she had won a prize. I was hundreds of miles away in a government building, watching my own life fall apart in real time. My security pass felt heavy around my neck, my heart was pounding. I didn't shout. I didn't run. I just stared at the screen and thought, she honestly thinks she's above it all. So, I made one quiet phone call, the kind that doesn't end with talking, but with action. Before I tell you what happened when that action reached my family's house, tell me, are you listening from somewhere you understand? I need to know I'm not the only one who has learned that sometimes, doing the right thing begins with the people closest to you. People see families and think of comfort. Mine looked perfect from the outside. 2 successful parents, a shining younger daughter, and me, the quiet one with the government job. We had those flawless holiday photos that made friends say, "You're so blessed." It wasn't about blessing. It was about a pecking order disguised as affection. I was 29, working long days at the Commerce Department, following money trails across borders. I couldn't talk about my work. Not the security checks, not the details, nothing. My parents thought I just pushed paper in an office. When people asked, my mom would smile and say, "Kelsey keeps the city running." I never bothered to explain. Trying to tell the truth to people who had already decided I wasn't important felt like talking to a wall. Clara was the complete opposite, bright, loud, magnetic. She filled a room until there was no space left for anyone else. When we were kids, she'd take my things without asking, steal my ideas, and always get away with it by laughing and saying, "Oh, Kelsey doesn't care." I did care. I just learned that saying anything made me look like the jealous one. Our parents adored that version of her, charming, driven, a future star. She married young to a man named David, a guy who sold luxury cars. Their home was all open spaces and a fancy wine cooler, the kind of stuff my mom brought up like it was a major achievement. Every time I visited, my dad would joke, "Maybe one day you'll get a real career and afford a place like this." I'd give him the same polite smile I used in meetings when important people talked over me. I told myself I wasn't angry. I had built a life that mattered. Every file I handled at work carried the weight of public trust. Every security code, every test I passed, reminded me I had more responsibility than they could ever know. But sometimes, I'd sit in my silent apartment, scrolling through their happy group photos online, and feel that old, familiar ache, the kind you get from being in the family picture but never truly being seen. 2 weeks before it all happened, Clara called me out of the blue. "You should come home for dinner next Friday," she said. "We're announcing something big, just family." Her voice had that fake sweet tone she used when she wanted something. I said yes anyway. Part of me still hoped we could be a normal family. Part of me just wanted to stop feeling like a stranger in my own home. The night of the dinner, I drove to my parents' house with that usual sense of unease. The driveway was full. My mom's car, my dad's SUV, Clara's shiny white Lexus sitting under the porch light. Through the window, I could see her moving around the dining room, laughing, glowing like the star of her own show. Inside, the air smelled of roasted chicken and red wine. My mom hugged me a little too tight, the way she does when she's anxious. "You're here, sweetie," she said, looking at my work blazer. "Still dressing for the office, I see." I smiled, put down the wine I brought, and took my usual seat at the far end of the table. Dinner started normally, chat about neighbors, updates on Clara's kids. Then, in the middle of the main course, she cleared her throat. "So, I have some news," she said, glancing at David. "We've made a big investment, for the kids' future, maybe even a vacation home later." My dad beamed. "That's my girl, always planning." I raised an eyebrow. "An investment? What kind?" Clara smiled, that practiced curve that never touched her eyes. "You'll see." She reached down beside her chair and when her hand came back up, she was holding a thick stack of folders. My folders. She stood up, holding them high for everyone to see. Found your little secret stash, sis. For a second, I thought I was hearing things. Then I saw the labels, the serial numbers, the official seals, the exact files that had been inside my locked safe at home. My dad frowned. Secret stash? What does that mean? Apparently, Clara said, laughing, Kelsey's been sitting on a little gold mine. Old stock certificates, or something. Don't worry, it's all legal, they're just inactive. She waved them in the air like they were party streamers. My mom leaned forward, her face full of pride. Kelsey, that's so generous of you. You saved all this for your nieces? Yeah, thanks for the college fund, Clara said, smirking. My parents smiled, looking so proud. I felt frozen. The room was suddenly too hot, the lights too bright. My family was smiling over stolen government property, and not one of them had a clue. I managed to ask, where did you get those? Clara shrugged. From your place. You should really change that lock, by the way. It's way too easy. David chuckled nervously. She's not wrong. If I found a pile of cash just sitting around, I'd probably do the same. My mom playfully swatted his arm. Don't be silly. Kelsey won't mind. I looked from face to face around the table. No one would meet my eyes. In that moment, it wasn't just about the folders. It was about all the years of being ignored, being made to feel small, being the reliable one in a family that only valued noise. Clara tucked the folders into her expensive handbag. We'll make sure this money helps the family, she said. You can thank me later. I pushed my chair back, the sound sharp in the quiet room. Enjoy the rest of your dinner, I said softly. I have something I need to do. No one tried to stop me as I walked out. The cold air outside hit me like a slap. I stood on the porch for a full minute, listening to the laughter still spilling out from the house, a sound that felt like it belonged to another planet. My hands were perfectly steady as I took out my phone. Years of training took over. I didn't argue. I didn't go back inside. I just found the secure contact labeled Department Internal Affairs and pressed call. My boss, Reynolds, answered, his voice all business. I need to report a security breach, I said. Category 1, government property in unauthorized hands. There was a short, heavy pause on the line. You're sure? I saw the footage myself, I replied. The person is known to me. Family. The words felt cold and clinical, but my heart was hammering. He let out a breath. Follow the procedure. I'll contact the Inspector General and Financial Crimes. Stay where you are until you hear from me. Understood. I hung up and sent the camera footage from my security system to the encrypted server. Clara's face filled the screen, smiling, picking the lock, lifting the folders. The evidence was clear, undeniable. For the first time all night, I took a deep, real breath. The cold seeped through my clothes, but it felt grounding. Inside, I could still hear the clink of forks, my mom's gentle laugh, Clara's voice, so full of that sugary victory. I whispered to the night air, you really thought I would let this go forever. Driving home, the road was just a blur of lights. My phone buzzed again. Special Agent Lena Rossi from the Commerce Department's investigative office. Ms. Carter, we got your report. The securities are now flagged across the federal system. A team is being sent tonight. Copy that, I said. They're at my parents' house. I will cooperate fully. Her voice softened just a bit. We know this is difficult. It's necessary, I said. By the time I got back to my apartment, the adrenaline had faded into something much colder and calmer. I poured a glass of water, looked out at the city lights, and replayed the dinner in my head, their smiles, the easy betrayal. When I joined the department, I took an oath, one that meant the law came before personal relationships. I always thought it was just words, something you'd never actually have to face. Until now. I checked the time. It was after 9. The team would be on their way soon. In the quiet, I imagined the scene about to happen, the knock, the confusion, the slow dawning of reality. For years, my family mistook my quiet nature for weakness. Tonight, they would learn what that quiet really meant. The next morning, the news arrived before the sun was even up. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Internal alerts, system confirmations, official approvals. The machine had done its job. The bonds were officially listed as stolen government property. Their serial numbers had set off alarms in every financial network in the country. But I didn't need to read the reports. I knew exactly where the agents were headed and exactly what they would find. By 7 that evening, I was back at my parents' house, pulling into the driveway. The same Lexus was there, shining under the porch light, the same sounds of a happy dinner coming from inside. For a crazy second, I thought maybe nothing had changed, that I could rewind the last day. I knocked once and walked in. Dinner was in full swing. Clara looked beautiful as ever, wearing a silk dress, her hair perfect. My mom looked up, surprised. "Kelsey, we didn't think you'd come back." "I had some unfinished business," I said quietly, taking the seat across from Clara. Her smirk wavered but didn't disappear. "So, you cooled off yet? Look, if this is about the stocks, don't have a meltdown." I talked to a guy. He said they're basically old paper, maybe worth $15,000. We'll sell them next week. Reinvest. Relax. Stop. My voice cut through the room's noise like a knife. You are not selling anything. My dad frowned. Kelsey, sweetie, there's no call for that tone. There's every call, I said. Those aren't just old papers. They are bearer bonds issued by the United States government. Registered federal securities. They are tracked. David blinked. Wait. Government bonds? $500,000 worth? Yes, I said. Stolen from a secure safe. The air in the room went dead. Even the kitchen clock seemed to stop ticking. Clara let out a loud, nervous laugh. You're joking. I'm not. So what? You think I stole from the government? From my own sister? I don't think it, I said. I know. The video is already with the federal authorities. My mom's hand shook on her wine glass. Kelsey, dear, I'm sure we can work this out as a family. She didn't mean any harm. She broke into a secure home, got past an electronic lock, opened a safe, and took protected government instruments. That's not a simple mistake. Clara's voice rose, panicked. They were just sitting there. You never use them. You never tell us what you do. How was I supposed to know? That's the point, Clara, I said. You weren't supposed to know. The sound that came next wasn't thunder, but it might as well have been. A heavy, official knock shook the front door. 3 solid bangs, then a woman's voice. Federal Investigative Service. Open the door! Every head turned to stare at me. I didn't move from my chair. That would be for you, I said. Clara went pale. You didn't. I said nothing. My dad stood up. I'll see who it is. Before he could reach the door, it opened to reveal a group of agents in dark jackets with FIS in bold letters. The woman in front was Special Agent Lena Rossi, her badge held high, her tone calm and firm. Good evening. We have a federal warrant for Clara Evans. My mom gasped. What? This is a mistake. Agent Rossi's gaze didn't flicker. Ms. Evans, you are under arrest for theft of government property, circumvention of security systems, and attempted fraud. David's fork fell onto his plate with a clatter. Oh my God. Clara stood up so fast her chair fell over. You can't be serious. She's my sister. Which makes this more serious, I said, my voice low. Two agents moved forward. Clara tried to back away, but Rossi spoke again, her voice like steel. Hands where we can see them, please. Mom, do something. Clara screamed. My mom just stared, her face white and trembling. Agent Rossi read Clara her rights as the handcuffs clicked shut. The sound was louder than any shouting match we'd ever had in that house. Kelsey, my dad said, his voice cracking. She's your sister. She's also a criminal, I said. And I am a sworn employee of the Commerce Department. If I hadn't reported this, I would be charged too. Rossi picked up the handbag Clara had dropped. Inside were the folders, still sealed. She opened one, checked the numbers, and nodded. All items recovered. Thank you for your report, Ms. Carter. I met her eyes. Just doing my job. They started to lead Clara toward the door. She twisted back, her makeup running, her voice breaking. Kelsey, please, please don't let them take me. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. I stood up. It stopped being a misunderstanding the second you walked into my home. The screen door slammed shut behind them. Outside, red and blue lights flashed across the frosty lawn. For a long time, nobody in the room spoke. The only sound was my mom's quiet crying. My dad finally whispered, "How could you do this?" I looked right at him, steady. "How could you never believe me?" He flinched. David sank into his chair, staring at his full wine glass. Right or wrong, our life is over. No, I said. It's just finally honest. Agent Rossi came back to the door. Ms. Carter, these will be processed at our field office tonight. We'll need your official statement in the morning. I'll be there, I said. She gave a single nod and then was gone into the night. I turned back to my parents. They looked smaller, like the truth had shrunk them. You wanted to believe she could do no wrong, I said. Now you see what that belief costs. No one had an answer. When the sirens had faded into the distance, I walked outside. The air was cold and clean. From the driveway, I could still see the ghost of the flashing lights disappearing down the street. I didn't feel like I'd won. I didn't feel sorry. I just felt light, because for the first time, the silence in that house wasn't my burden to carry anymore. The trial happened quickly. Within months, the video from my apartment was played in court. High definition, time-stamped, impossible to deny. Clara's face was on every screen, picking the lock, opening the safe, lifting the folders with that proud smile. Her lawyer tried every argument, said she thought they were family assets, that she didn't understand their real nature. But the serial numbers in government records destroyed every excuse. In the courtroom, I sat up straight behind the prosecutor, my hands folded. I wasn't there for revenge. I was there to see my duty through to the end. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, Clara cried so hard she could barely stand. The judge's voice was calm as he gave the sentence, 10 years in a federal prison, full repayment of the bond value, and a large fine. My mom cried quietly in the seats behind me. My dad stared at the floor, his mouth a tight line. David didn't come to the last few days of the trial. He had already filed for divorce. When the guards led Clara away, she looked back at me one last time. I didn't look away. I had already said everything I needed to say by choosing to tell the truth. After it was over, I walked out of the courthouse into the weak winter sun. The steps down felt long, but with each one, a weight I had carried for years felt a little lighter. I thought about all the times I had been invisible at that family table, overlooked, talked over, forgotten, and I realized that doing the right thing hadn't made me small. It had finally made me seen. A few years later, I was promoted to lead a team of investigators at the department. I got an award for helping recover millions in stolen assets. At the ceremony, a senior official shook my hand and said, "Integrity like yours is what makes this place work." My parents weren't there. I hadn't expected them to be. Clara still sends letters from prison. Sometimes they're full of apologies that turn into pleas for help with parole or money. I keep them in a box, unread. Some lessons can only be learned the hard way. People think justice is loud and feels like victory, like the end of a movie. It isn't. It's quiet. It feels like you can finally breathe. Now, my apartment is different. Peaceful. Quiet. The new security system hums softly, the one the department had installed after everything. Sometimes I stand by the window at night, looking at the city, and think about how the silence used to ache. Now it's just peace. My parents have a key to my place. They've never used it. Maybe that's their way of dealing with what happened, or maybe it's their regret. Either way, I've stopped waiting for them to understand. People still ask me if I ever wish I had done things differently. I tell them, no. You can forgive someone without making what they did okay. You can love your family and still have a line they cannot cross. If you've ever had to choose between your family and what you know is right, I know how hard that feels. But believe me, choosing what's right will never break you. It just shows you who was willing to break you first. If this story reminds you of something you've been through, I'd like to hear it. You're not alone.